What's going on, Mosh Pit crew? What's going on? Welcome to Geeking Out with the Metal Geek. I'm your host, the Metal Geek, and I just have one thing to say. Welcome to the Geek Pit. Now, this guest today that I have, he is an NYWC Hall of Famer. Let's give a Geeking Out welcome to Dickie Rodz.
Hey man, what's going
What's
on?
what's going on, dude?
Same old, buddy. How you been?
Been a long time since we talked, man. You know,
I think actually we were still somewhat on lockdown the first time we spoke. I think,
that yeah, it was like 2 years. I think it was 2 years ago. Like the
yep,
NYWC show was just about to come back.
yep. I think we
Yeah.
had at that point we had just filmed the Heart and Soul tournament. I think we hadn't aired it yet, and I think it was still like at the point where everything was locked down and coming back. So it's been a bit.
And you had the cup right in the no, you had the cup in the background.
Did I? Oh, okay. So maybe
Yeah,
we maybe,
yeah, you had the cup right in the background, man. Yeah.
oh yeah,
So
there's no more cup here now. So
yeah.
those
Yeah.
days are gone. But it was fun and it was good, and we all had a good time.
Yeah. So um like like a lot has changed since then. I mean, you just recently became an NYWC Hall of Famer. So if you want to talk what it means to you on that one.
Yeah, it was actually in October. They inducted me to the Hall of Fame. I think I'm in my 23rd year of wrestling. Yeah, I'm in my 23rd year of wrestling, and I think it was something that was a lot of people were looking forward to. When they established the Hall of Fame here in NYWC, and that I always was asked, by a lot of the guys I'd worked with, and when are you going in? I said, well, I wasn't there at the time. I wasn't at NYWC at the time. And I think that when a lot of the guys I've worked with and knew and were friends with, I was like, well, you need to be in there. You need to be in there. I never really gave it thought, but I think when the time came, when we did the Hall of Fame ceremony, I finally, understood. And a lot of people, when you're around such a long time around something and you put a lot of work into it, like wrestling, you're all over the place. It's not just for one place. It's, you're traveling and everything. And I've had my day. I had my day of traveling all over, up and down the Northeast. I traveled a lot of parts of the United States. And I think that when I came home to NYWC in 2018, it still really wasn't a thought. I just kind of, was rolling with the punches. I was one of the older dudes, and I got paired up with a lot of younger kids just starting. And it was a pleasure to me to watch these guys, excel, from where they were when I got back in 2018. So when I got finally inducted into Hall of Fame, it meant a lot. I think it meant more with what I went through as opposed to what it would have meant if I hadn't left and came back. I think it meant a lot more in regards to meaning something. Like, I don't look at my time with NYWC. I started with NYWC. This is where I first trained, and I had big highlights of my career, but I don't think that it really ever hit me until that night when everything came together and everybody was telling me memories or feelings about how they felt about working with me, being friends with me, how they felt about me as a person, not just a wrestler. And so going into the Hall of Fame, it meant a lot more than it would have if I didn't have this long career. I think anybody that gets put into a Hall of Fame at this point, anywhere, when you're being honored by people you worked with, I think the longer it takes you to get in there, the better, because it really shouldn't be it shouldn't be on the map. Like I'm not gonna, these trainees that come into NYWC today shouldn't be, well, I want to be a Hall of Famer. I get it if you want to be, but if you're looking to become a Hall of Famer, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and getting inducted meant a lot. And it put a cap on something that we were about to wrap up. And fortunately, I'm still around. I haven't left. I'm fighting through injuries. I'm fighting through health problems, but I'm still here, and I'm doing my thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not only that, you had that match with Mike Mondo, which was like 20. Oh, that was 20 years in the making. So
Yeah, the Mike Mondo feud. So Mike and I were legitimately, we were best friends, and I think that when it carried over into the wrestling world finally once again, I think we're up to. I think it's going to happen again. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think that the match we had in Cycle Circus that was built for 20 years, that was match 4. It could have been match 4, I think, as far as singles matches go. And it's got to, if anybody's ever had a best friend, that one friend that has never left your side, and then finally all of a sudden it boils over. You can definitely relate to the issues that Mondo and I are having. And I think that, again, and I still love the guy. I love the guy very much. I think he's super, super talented. I think the guy is an absolute professor of wrestling, and I respect him a lot. But I think that, the Psycho Circus match that we did for the 20 years in the making thing, on a personal side, that could have been a better outing for me. That could have been a better match for me. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I think that, and I lost, and there we also inserted.
You got screwed. You got screwed.
Yeah,
Let's put it to you that way. You got screwed. You didn't lose, man.
That was something I didn't see coming. Curse broke me into wrestling, and he seemingly chose me, and then he turned his back on me, hit me with a chair. I think right now the bigger issues with Curse, but Curse is old and he's broken, as he says, and he can't do it. So you know what? Hey man, I think it's almost time to do this again with me and Mondo and get a real solid winner. No interruptions, no nothing, man.
You need like a steel cage match or something like that.
Listen, your mouth to NYWC bookings here, man, because I would do a cage match in a heartbeat with Mike Mondo. That's for sure.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about win now. So you recently had the match with Alvin. Now you've never had a match with Alvin before, and what was it like getting in the ring with Alvin?
Well, so what that one was the big fight, right? I think the show was called
that was the big fight. Yeah, the big fight.
Anyway, when Alvin and I have never had a singles match before, and just to give a little background about how that even came about was the fact that we'll get into how Win even contacted me. I think that so SATs were still working for NYWC at the time, and they were, we would always talk about how, hey, we're gonna start a wrestling company. We want you there, and I'm like, okay, no, it's not sitting there saying anybody's lying or anything. I'm just saying, okay, no problem. You take locker room talk as a grain of salt in wrestling. It's never, oh man, and you're gonna get all excited about. Okay, cool. You're gonna start a promotion, cool, man. No power to you. Best of luck. And they ended up, running a show, I think, down in Jersey once. And, and I read about it, and all of a sudden they stopped. And one December night, I was getting ready to go to my job. And I got a text from Joel, and he's like, hey man, I told you we're going to use you. We need the older guys to lead the younger guys. And we're going to use you. Here's your date. And, hopefully you can make it. Okay. Yeah, no problem. But the main goal was, hey man, we want to put you in with you. Okay, cool. Younger talent. Great. And then all of a sudden it was Alvin Alvarez. Okay. I don't look at Alvin as a younger talent. I look at Alvin as somebody who is established and can go and knows his stuff. But, in any case, finally there was, given to me, and he even said it. He goes, I've never wrestled in one-on-one, and he, Alvin, God bless him. He promoted that thing hard, and, he's doing that now with a match with Dan Barry as well. But, he promoted that hard. He believed in it. He wanted it. And, he really, it's too much of the way he put me over to build up for that thing. But, it meant something to him. And, we went out there and we did our thing. Unfortunately, just right now, it's a little tough for me, but I'm getting through the matches. But Alvin is nothing. He's probably one of the most professional people I've ever had shared a ring with. He's very kind, but he's also like he's the guy you want to work with. He loves wrestling. He'll do whatever he's got to do. He understands, he understands there's business to a match, and there's a story, and we got to go out there and we got to do our thing, and we got to do it the right way. And he's totally for it. And he, he's a guy that anybody would love on their shows, coachable, and he respects the business.
Yeah. He's a vet,
Yeah, so. Man. I definitely look at him as experienced, and, he got in there and he showed me how well he is and how professional he is. And that's the one thing that, it's something that's a word that I don't use with just anybody. Professional is a very strong term for me. And I think if anything, Alvin is professional. Listen, everybody makes mistakes. We all botch things. We may hurt somebody, God forbid. But for the long and short of it, Alvin was very professional, and we got the job done that night.
And a great guy too. So,
Yeah.
He's awesome, man.
Definitely. I always enjoyed it. Before we got booked for the big fight, I always enjoyed talking to him, and he's very hungry. And if when you meet these guys, they're in the prime of their career or just starting out. That's the one thing that I love. It's just, there's so many guys that are hungry. And when you're hungry, you know that you're going to give 100% every time you go out, no matter if there's 20 guys out there to watch you or 200 guys out there, 2,000 guys. They're always putting in 100%.
Exactly. So if you just want to talk like the big title match that you defeated Alvin to earn yourself into, we got the poster right here. So
hell yeah, there's that.
You got Hamlet, you got Joey Conway in there, you got the Face, Sal, PJ Savage, Brando Lee, and Papa Don.
Yeah, I got
Chris Cage,
and I got to watch some of these guys at the big fight, and I got to say, a lot of these guys have a lot of potential and a lot of talent to them. I think that I still want to know how this fatal elimination 10-man is going to work. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of guys to go through here, but I mean, the biggest part about it is at least I got to watch most of these guys wrestle that night. I was on early with Alvin, so I got to watch some of this, and I got to tell you, I got a lot of work cut out for me in this one. I think that there's a hell of a lot of potential in that ring, and then you have a ring general in Papa Don in there. Sal is somebody who is he's got a ton of talent in him. I think his name was PJ Savage. I remember I watched him at Big Fight. Okay, we got this guy knows what he's doing. And then there was, of course, I can't say enough about Joey Conway. I mean, if I wasn't in the match, I'd tell you Conway's my favorite in that thing to win it. But now that I'm in it, no, I'm always. I'm gonna be my own favorite to win it. But again, there's a lot of there are a lot of guys in here that could definitely hold their own. Now, I think it's going to be a great match either way. I think the best guy that entertains the hell out of me and has a great character and great presence is Hamlet. I remember I got in the locker room and, for the big fight, and all I kept hearing was Hamlet. Well, who's Hamlet? And that's not a knock on the guy. Just, there's some guys that are around that I don't know of. And Dickie, you didn't see his promo that he cut that we put on the page? No, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. So I ended up watching this guy do his thing. And it's just like, okay, I like this character. I like his ring presentation. I really, so I look forward to at least getting in there and doing something with him. And then I had ended up watching his promo after the show. And man, I'm into it. He makes me want to see him, and I just, again, is another guy that I'd like to keep my eye on. But yeah, no, I definitely want to see what he's got going on, and I want to see more of him. Hopefully he, does something with his whole character. I think it's great.
Yeah. I like the first time I saw Hamlet, it's like, what is this? It's like, what is this character? You know what I mean? And then it's like, I'm all I'm saying is like the people that you in the match, and then you have to watch out for the people that you don't know, which is Hamlet.
I mean, the half the guys on there, honestly, I don't know. I got to watch them, so I know a little bit, but I think. Honestly, sometimes it's not so much about doing your homework on somebody. I think a lot of the times it's about just reacting, and that's what makes this more intriguing is that it's going to be a lot of reaction as opposed to being able to do my homework and watching these guys and whatever. But yeah, man, I mean, more power to them. Hopefully, let the best man win, which is going to be me. So, I mean, I'm not going to say anybody else going to win, but, I honestly, I think all these guys need to watch out for a guy like Papa Don as far as me, including me rather. We've been around the block a bunch of times. I'm not trying to age us, but, when you talk, knowing what you're doing and talent and everything that's needed to be a great wrestler, that's Papa Don. So, I mean, honestly, he's probably as far as experience and knowing what to do and just athleticism and talent, Papa Don's in there, man. I don't know. This is going to be I would love for it to come down to me and Papa Don. I would love for it to come down to me and Conway. It'll come down for me and Hamlet, but obviously it's, only time's going to tell that one until we get there. That's May 18th. So we got a couple more weeks to go, and then it's going to be time for the first ever win champion.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think it's 10-man tag anybody you want, right? I believe those are the rules, right?
You know what? I honestly, I don't. They really haven't told me much. It's just basically, I remember I won my match. I got in there, and it was, oh, you're in the title match, and All I have heard was fatal elimination match. So I really, I don't know how they're going to do this. I don't know yet. I mean, I'll find out soon. So it's very hard to prepare for a match. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we know Dickie knows he's going to be the new champion, but who does everybody in the chat think is going to be the champion? So that is a good question right there. But look at all these competitors. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think any one of these guys could be the champion. I was talking about this with Paul. Anybody could be the champion in that.
That's and that's what intrigues me about it too. Is this is like who it's not really trying to pick who's gonna. It could be anybody, and it could be it's elimination, so everybody's got to be eliminated before there's a winner. So it's not like there's going to be a pin out of nowhere, and the next thing you know, someone's the champion. So really, it's still going to come down to you have 10 guys in this match. It's some way, which way or another, and it's like. I mean, if it's a tag, like you're saying, where it's 10 men, it's 10 men up on that ring somehow, which is insanely nuts to me. But I mean, if it's all 10 men up there and a tag in and out, yeah, you really, honestly, you're not going to know anything until at least down to the last 3, last 4. Until you really make a prediction, watch it. So really, honestly, it's kind of intriguing because again, like you said, you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think that you're not going to get a grasp on what could happen or who's going to be able to win this thing until you're down to the last 3.
I mean, it's like I talked about this with Paul, and Paul even said, "Is like that's my biggest headache right there, deciding who's going to be the champion right there." Because any one of those guys could be the champion.
Well, look, it's so funny. You might have booked yourselves into a dead end because you got a lot of good talent in there. You got a lot of good guys in there. And it's tough because, where do you go, and who's going to be that? Unfortunately, there can only be one guy at the end to be the flag bearer of the company. And while I could say that in one way that it's not the importance of being the first champion, I mean, although I was the first champion in NYWC, I don't want to look at this as I have to win this because I want to be the first champion to win. I want to win this because I want to show dominance at this point. You have, you're in there, the 10th guy, you're in there with 9 of the best. They've been basically handpicked by being the best. And you're putting them in the ring all together. And it's like, okay, man, fight over a Mar belt. And, last one standing is, the champion, and you've earned it. But honestly, it's not, I'm not going to go into this match being the mentality of, hey, I got to be the first champion. I want to be the dominant one. And, I don't know where these guys are at in their careers, but I know where I'm at in mine. And right now my thinking is, hey, man, you've heard of me. You may not have seen me and you may not have wrestled me, but now I'm going to show you my dominance. And if I have to win that belt to show it to you, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So the big question is, what is your feelings on if you were to become the first champion?
I mean, it's great. I don't think that anybody's ever going to turn around and be like, well, I really didn't want to win the title. Then why would I be there? But as far as being the first champion, you hold that belt up with pride and satisfaction that for me personally, for being around for so many years and still being able to do this, honestly, it's almost like a second wind. It would be amazing. A very big thank you to wrestling for still accepting. But yeah, again, it's not so much about being a champion, but if I were to be the champion, I'd be very grateful and very humble, and I would do the best I can for the company and for everybody that comes to the shows that we would be wrestling for. But yeah, no, it's always, it doesn't matter if you've been around for 23 years, 3 years, 3 minutes. When you become the champion of a company, you're now the poster child, you're the flag bearer, and you're the role model. Not only to just the boys and girls in the back and, the people that run the company, but to the people that come to watch. And they always say, yeah, you gotta be the best wrestler. Well, you may not be the best wrestler. I don't think it takes the best wrestler to be a champion. I think it's the guy that has the most passion and the most heart for what we do to be a champion. And then sometimes there's a lot of guys that are so good that they don't need a belt to be a champion. But it's like, in this particular case, Win is, I've known the SATs for God since I started. I watched Paul before I became a wrestler. There's guys, that I'd seen in the locker room at Big Fight that I hadn't seen in nearly 2 decades and didn't even recognize them. And, so honestly, to be the champion over there, if I could do it, would be amazing. And it would be like a second win to a career that, there's guys that have been lucky in today's wrestling. They get on stream and their matches are streamed and seen by a lot of people. And, it's not like it was back in the day. When I started, it was still somewhat at the end of tape trading. You had to sell VHSs at whatever shows that you were at. There was no YouTube, there was no nothing. You couldn't post a match or anything. And I'm humbled beyond words that there are still people in locker rooms today that go, Dickie, Rodz, I haven't seen you in a long time. I remember, and then we could start just shooting the shit and remembering these good times that will never be seen because we didn't have streaming, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have anything to put these matches on. So, when I went to Big Fight and I seen a lot of these people I hadn't seen in a long, long time, and I had all these conversations, it meant so much to me, not so much that even at that point that I was, in the company, but it was just meant a lot to me that I got to see these people again. We got to share these memories again. Some guys were bringing up things that I don't even remember, and it all came back. So it was a very nostalgic night. It was a very good night. So honestly, to go back to the original question, to win the title here, it would probably mean a lot. Thinking about it, it would mean a lot. Just that it's a lot in a way of thanks for not forgetting me at the end of the day.
Yeah, you go back to tape trading, and I my mind's all warped now because I remember the beginning eras of NYWC, and it was like I remember there was nothing. I don't think there was any footage of the early eras of NYWC.
No, so what happened with that is that so the very early starts of NYWC were actually before 2003. We set our history at 03. The beginnings of NYWC actually started in 2000 when I started, and excuse me, our shows were minuscule and small, more like a student show at those times, and we had taped them. And the guy that was taping them was very, very protective over footage and what went out, what didn't, and the shot looked this and the shot looked that. And we as young guys and girls, we were just like, well, basically, what the fuck? We want to see our matches. We want to get them out. And the only way we were going to do that is we were going to make our own DVDs or videotapes to sell. That never happened. So when we had gotten into the Deer Park Community Center in 03, and then, Mikey and Shannon came along and, they jumped on board, is when attention came and we had our video down there shooting our stuff. So, during the highest points of NYWC, we had the shows taped. We had our own people taping. We had RF down there when we could. So there was some movement. And again, like I said, back then we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have anything to upload our matches on. There was no Twitter, there's no social media, there's none of this stuff that we have today where it's so easy to be seen. So we didn't have that. So, if there was there were fans shopping RF video at a bigger show and they would see NYWC, we had to give them a reason to want to pick up that DVD. And it's very hard because again, no social media. You can't promote these guys that were all over the place or making waves or getting shots with WWE at the time. So honestly, it was a wing and a prayer, I think. And, our stuff did get out there, by word of mouth, by other workers that would talk about their time at NYWC. So really, that's how drastic it's changed. And I think that, it goes back to being in a locker room at Win where I hadn't seen a lot of people and we're talking about those days. And finally, there's people that understand it. It's very hard to get it across to these kids of today's wrestling. And even the ones that made it pretty quick and they're doing Impact tapings and they're doing AEW and whatever, you don't understand how hard it was to get a spot on the indies or to be noticed or to get your stuff seen. It's very easy today. And people lack motivation and drive like we had back in the day because we had to jump all these walls and we had to get through all these hurdles just to get seen, not to get signed, not to get a big sponsor. You had to travel. You know, you had to go to these shows when you weren't booked and say, hey, I'm such and such. I would love an opportunity on a future show, whatever the case may be. There were no, there was email, but it wasn't as strong. And then people would ask for a tape. It was just easier, even though it was spending money, to jump in a car and get to these shows and be seen. So, going back to Win, hey man, again, it was, the buddy system, so to speak. It is networking all these years and having a good attitude and just loving wrestling that brought me over to Win. And I think it's done that with some other people in that locker room too. And that's probably one of my favorite parts of Win, is that it's the good brothers, not forgetting the other good brothers that maybe didn't do as much or didn't get all those opportunities that others did. So it was good to see a lot of people.
Yeah. And they have a stacked roster, by the way. Win has a stacked roster.
Get bigger, man. As far as I hear, there's people talking about it. There's other workers talking about Win.
I've been told.
Yeah, man. And I know, look, it's gonna to me, if I'm looking at this correctly, I think it's gonna get to the point where you're not gonna need the older guys, because they're finding the younger guys that can work, or have an advantage because they get to work with the older guys outside of Win. And they're bringing in these guys that are being suggested, obviously, I'm sure, by guys that have talent or guys that they trust. So the roster's only gonna get bigger. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get such a big roster where they'll split it between New Jersey shows and New York shows. I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. I really don't talk the workings of their company. But if I was to guess after, watching Big Fight and seeing the lineup for the championship, excuse me, the championship match on the May 18th show, I honestly, I see it getting bigger. I mean, I just hope that they continue to draw and be successful. And, if I know that they're old, well, not they're old, but their original focus, as far as I was told, was, hey man, we want to get these younger guys to a point where they're better than what they were when they start with us. Okay, no problem. Sounds great. So, and they're doing a great job so far after the one show. I listened to the locker room speech. I've listened to some of the guys' attitudes in there. But you know what? Again, also too, even on the aspect of the younger guys, not all the young guys are going to make the cut. They're going to be looking for what they need and certain things that they need, certain things that they don't need, and guys are going to get cut. So again, it's just the way of the business. It's the way of wrestling. You can only hold so much before, okay, well, what's dead weight? What can we get rid of? And I don't think they're going to need the older guys soon. There are a lot of great young talent out there, and they just need an opportunity.
Yeah. So what are some of your goals at Win, you'd say?
Well, right now, my first goal is to win the title.
That's May 18th. Dickie Rodz will be in the title match right there.
Well, one of 10, but there it is.
There's the poster right there.
Yeah, I mean, right. So yeah, honestly, the first goal is to win the Win title. It might be my only opportunity to win it. But yeah, man. After that, maybe back to the original goal. If I win or I don't win it, it would be irrelevant. But I definitely want to wrestle some of these younger guys and go out there and do what I do best, and that's slow them down and make them, tell a story and not have to, throw themselves over a top rope or, do some crazy ass stuff and stunts to get over. It's not always about, well, for me, it was never about high spots or big moves to get over. It was always about telling a story and making an emotional connection with the people that are there. And I think lately, that doesn't happen in independent wrestling so much. But I also think that it may not even fall just on the way of the actual worker. It may fall in the way of the booker. You have to create something that people can relate to. If you can't make these people that are coming in to watch you relate to whatever you're trying to do, then it's not going to work. And then I think that's so much as to why a lot of younger guys, they rely on high spots and big moves. But I mean, also too, another part of that too is that the wrestling started to change. I would say probably the mid 2010s, and there were a lot of big spots and a lot of big moves. And when you do these big spots and these big moves, where do you go? You got to go higher. And if you set that bar way too high, where are you going to go? When you get to the highest point of a mountain, there's only one way to go, and that's down. And I think that we're at a part where, we're at a point in wrestling where I pray it doesn't get too dangerous. God bless these guys that do even, a percentage of the stuff they do in that ring. I've seen Canadian destroyers on the ring aprons now, and it's like, oh my God. But, in my opinion, I'd like to see some of these guys head down the mountain, go back to making wrestling an art, go back to telling a story, go back to connecting with them, because they're going to realize fast that, I didn't do more than half these big moves that these guys are doing. I'm hurting very badly. Your body can only take so much. So that, hopefully when they're getting over when they're younger and doing all this big stuff, that they make a lot of money doing it, because if they don't, they're going to realize their career is going to be very, very short, and the rest of our life is going to be very, very painful. It sucks. And it's just something that I don't think that really needs to happen all the time. Every night you go in there, you don't need to destroy your body. And I know it's, as a young person, they're not going to feel it. The body, it heals itself quicker. It's just a fact. There's calcium deposits in your bones that start to build as you get older. And it gets very hard to, recuperate as fast as you can. So these guys and girls, I just hope that they realize that, there's more than one way to do a wrestling match. And, they'll say that to us, the older guys, oh, well, our way, you're just saying our way is wrong. No, I'm not saying your way is wrong. Absolutely not. It's amazing.
No.
I mean, half the stuff they do is I will never take away talent and credit where it's due, but let's go backwards a little bit. Let's start climbing down the mountain. Let's go back to, telling that story and saving your body so you have a longer wrestling life. And case in point, an example is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to bang up my body every day in a car wreck, 3 times in a weekend. Guys and girls can work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then go back to their regular jobs on a Monday. They're going to get hurt. It's going to take a toll. You want to go out there at most 3 or 4 times in a weekend and have a car wreck? Or do you want to go out there and connect with these people, have them tell a story, have them cheer for you on simplistic things, on the story itself, on the story you're telling with your body, and that's what I think. What I like about Win is that I think that's where they want me to go. Be the utility guy, tell a story, get these guys to connect with you. Because I used to be able to do it, but again, when you have 3 or 4 matches ahead of the storytelling and they're giving these people everything they got and they're doing all this crazy stuff, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. One, they're not going to care about, 2 guys getting in there because they have a grudge or because, they were best friends and they hate each other now for whatever reason. One guy stole the other guy's girlfriend or wife or whatever, whatever the case may be, or you robbed from my mom, I'm going to come get you, whatever crazy story there is to tell. Or even just telling a story about 2 wrestlers getting in there that, not one is disliked, not one is liked. There's 2 wrestlers. You get in there and you wrestle until there's a story that you tell as to why one is breaking the rules. It's wrestling. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's probably long short of why I was brought in, and that's my job. So I just hope that there's a lot of other people that follow suit. They can hit their big moves, but you don't have to hit every big move you got. So I think that's where, from what I was told and from how it was explained to me, I hope that's what I can bring to the table at Win.
Yeah. You talk about hitting big moves in the matches, but then there's a guy like Hamlet who's focusing on character, being a character driven. I noticed that.
That's absolutely not, and that's great, and that's that's a very strong part of wrestling is entertainment, and that when you Hamlet is taking pages out of other things I've seen on movies and things. I don't want to get into that because I want to. I don't want to tear back the curtain on them, but I really think it's things that nobody saw to do or repeat and bring it to their own. And he's bringing it to his own entertainment form. And again, he's a guy I'm just looking at, well, wow, I just want to see what he's going to do next. And that's, I know when I'm out there and I'm watching a wrestling show and there's somebody out there that just brings the gimmick to the table, it doesn't stop. That's the other major thing about having a personality, character, and or gimmick in wrestling is that you can't stop. It's like, oh, he's got a great entrance, he's doing this, and then gets in the ring and starts wrestling. It's all right. I mean, you kind of have the idea, but you never want to stop. And this guy, literally from the time that he hit the curtain and got out there to the time that he went to the back, which I wasn't even there in the back. I was actually out there watching. To me, he nailed it. As far as being a presence out there, again, less is more in that aspect. He's doing more than half his job being that character, and I want to see more of it. I want him to pour more out into the ring, especially during the 10-man fatal elimination championship thing. I want to see more of that, and I want him to. He's going to entertain the hell out of me, that's for sure. And I'm going to be in the damn thing. But honestly, if I was to break it down, you're going to see pure wrestling from Papa Don. You're going to see, character and absolute great wrestling from Joey Conway. Sal Savelli is from what, he again, another great wrestler and get himself its character. But they don't have Hamlet. Hamlet is pure character. And again, that's going to add an exciting element to the match. And then, everybody else involved in that match too. Again, I go down the names, but they all have this untapped talent. I think they all have a lot of potential here. And again, like we said, that anybody could win this thing. But going back to character, I think Hamlet's eyes going to be on him. I just personally, I think it's going to stand out, it's going to stick, and it's going to bring a lot to the table for that match.
If it's not you, is your pick Hamlet?
That's a tough one, man. I honestly, it would not be a bad thing whatsoever. But if you want to know my honest to God pick for if it can't be me, if I don't win this thing, I would love to see somebody who I've wrestled a million times before, and I think he's absolute untapped talent. I think the guy needs to get a lot more opportunity everywhere. I think he's absolutely on top of his game. He's only getting better. I've never seen. I can't say I've never seen, but he's one of those guys that I'm seeing. He's become an indie journeyman, as we like to call them. And, he just never stops, and he's hungry as Joey Conway. I think Conway, he's another one that just has a presence in there. He's got, he may not have a character like Hamlet, but he has a ring presence to him. And he has that, they call it the it factor. I don't know if I really want to say he has the it factor, but he has, because again, it's very hard to tell anybody they have the it factor unless they're just a godsend, and it's like something you've never seen before. It's like, oh, there it is. That's the it factor. That's a very strong terminology for me to put on anybody, and I think it kind of weighs on people. But Joey Conway, excuse me, he's absolutely talented. He's a great hand. He's an absolute blast out of a locker room. He's constantly wanting to learn. He soaks up any information like a sponge. And the guy, he's absolutely safe in the ring. He's just amazing. He's a great guy to work with. He's a great guy in general. He's been doing things that he never got. And gosh, I think it was about 9 or 10 years now that he's been wrestling. He's doing things in this year that he's never done before. He's very grateful for it. I've never seen somebody so humble for it and just working harder. So if there's, and the fact that I know, I've known him for a while helps. Yeah, I would like to see Conway win the title.
Yeah, Conway's definitely a good choice, but like I said, anyone in that match could be the first champion. And what is it like to be the first champion? Because you can only be the first champion once.
Yeah, no, that's true. You can only be the first champion. It's a question that, and it's funny because I was the first NYWC champion, but
yeah,
the thing is that I didn't think anything of it when I did it. I think that win is really kind of making this something special, and they want this first win to mean something. And I think at the time when I did it at NYWC, it wasn't the same. There wasn't the same. It wasn't the same situation. It was very different. We had been around, but it was like, at that point, we went into bigger shows. We went into a bigger venue at that time. We were having bigger shows that eyes were on it, and that, they wanted to start to somewhat turn the products more serious, where it wasn't, we weren't students anymore. We were, for me, I was at least 3 years in at that point. And there were other guys just starting, but it was more of, hey, we want to make NYWC more serious. We're the real deal, and we're here. And it honestly, so for me, I was young. I think I was maybe 23, 22, 23 years old at that time. And then it didn't hit me because it wasn't presented that way. It was, Dickie, you're the champion, go out there, do it. Went out there and did it. And it was just another day at the office for me. It was just another wrestling match for me at that time. It felt good to be given the championship, at that time, it's just kind of like, wow, this is really cool. But to think of it in terms as you're the first champion, no, it was never presented to me that way. So when I look back on it, and knowing that NYWC is around for 23 years. I know we only count to 20, but again, we've actually been around for 23 years. It means something now, and it has more importance to it now. And I think when your coworkers turn around and they make it into something bigger than you thought it was, then yeah, it does mean something. And I hold it very special, and it's not something that anybody could take away. It's not something that anybody can ever shit on and tell you, you didn't deserve it because you were given to it for a reason. So switching back to win, I think that the way this is all coming about and how hard they're pushing this thing, this is their third show, and we're going to give you the first ever wrestling is now heavyweight champion. And I think that with their mission statement as a company and the guys that they're picking, I think that, and again, like we talked about earlier, this roster is only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger, and there's going to be more people add to it as we go. And it's going to be guys that can go and do their thing. So yeah, it's a big deal. So I think going into this one, you'll feel it, and it'll be a bigger deal than what I had when I won the NYWC title for the first time and was the first champion. So again, that's a deal where whoever wins this thing, if it's not me, whoever wins this thing, you should probably take this as something big, and it's you're given a title to represent that company. It's representing SATs. It's representing their mission statement to bring back things to wrestling that are missing, to give guys that couldn't get the opportunities, to get people that just don't have eyes on them, to put the eyes on them because they feel that they're that good. If you're going to be that guy that's holding the belt and you're going to be the flag bearer and you're going to be the poster child, then you do have a very big responsibility. And to be the first champion would probably mean a lot because you know what, if the company is around in another 5 years and then it's around another 10 years and 15, 20 and so on, it becomes more. So it's not so much in the moment you're doing something big and you're representing everything I just said, but it becomes more the longer the company that you're doing it for stays around. So I think that's why being the first NYWC champion, it didn't really mean anything until all the boys and, the company started bringing it up when I got inducted to Hall of Fame, where it's just like, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, well, you know what? It kind of means something to a lot of people. And a lot of people look at it as something that was, man, I would love to have done that. So, yeah, I think it takes time, but I don't think you should look at it as a small feat.
Yes. And for fans that are going to the show, you're going to witness history. So you're going to see the first champion crowned, which is guaranteed. So, which is awesome. So,
well, that's the best part. Guarantee, hell or high water, as they say, you're going to get a new champion. You're going to get a first champion, and that's it. So that's like you said, that's a guarantee. Who it is, we don't know. Pick 1 out of 10, and there you go, and put the bets down. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know. There's just way too much talent in that match to even figure out who's going to walk away with this thing.
It's gonna be like Serena says in the chat. It's gonna be an unforgettable night, and it's like the first champion will be crowned in Patch Hog, which is good. It's going to be awesome, by the way. So you get your tickets now.
Yeah, hurry up and buy them.
Hurry up. Yeah, because they might sell out. You know what I mean? Because I was talking with the SATs, I believe, on the debut episode of Geeking Out, and they said that they want this to be like a Ring of Honor feel. So when the fans remember this show, it's like 5 to 10 years from now, people are gonna say, "Wow, I remember so and so was the first champion." Same as Low Key was the first Ring of Honor champion.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to be able to bring that feel to be SATs, again, the SATs, tell me something they haven't done. I mean, we're not even talking about championships and things like that. Just tell me things they haven't done in wrestling as far as in ring and being a part of things that are special and special moments and everything that goes with that. I mean, I still remember. So I watched SATs back in 1999. I was 19 years old, and I was working a seasonal job at UPS, and I met this guy Kevin Flynn, who happened to be a wrestler for HWA, and he was called Master Kevin Bates. Funny stuff, but yeah, he promoted HWA, and I ordered this thing, and the first match out is the SATs, and they were at the commentators table, and it was the whole Spanish announce table that everybody goes through, and it was Jose and Joel and this guy, the Amazing Red, and it's like they get up and they start doing this match. It's holy shit, like you're just seeing back in '99. You're talking Attitude Era in the WWF, and ECW was still there, and it's just crazy stuff. And watching these guys live, right? Like it was a very intimate setting because there's the ring, and then there's like three or four rows, and you got a first row seat. You were right. It felt like you were in the ring because half time they're running into guardrails and doing spots on the outside. But so I had first seen them as a fan, and then I think it was about 2 years into my training. They showed up at NYWC to train, and I was very intimidated at that point. Again, I had just in '02 I had just getting out and wrestling for USA Pro, Frank Goodman, and I started to make rounds in Jersey, and New England came. I think about 2 years later, I started going to New England, and so I was working for the first 2 or 3 years of my career. A lot of it was New York and then New Jersey, and these guys were always there. And I mean, they were over. I mean, they were super over. They did stuff I'd never seen before, including the Spanish Fly. So to have them come down to training and train with me, and they just looked at me and said, "Dickie, we're not going to hurt you, man. We're not going to hurt you." I'm like, oh, like again, the intimidation factor, because I watched their stuff when they were wrestling on the shows I was on with them, and it was brutal. Like, not brutal bad, but brutal. Like, oh my God, they're really killing each other in there. So and again, ROH popped up, in that time era, and I remember watching them too. They ran out of gyms at first and everything else, and there's SAT, and it's like if anybody's going to bring that feel, if that's their goal, I can tell you right now, after Big Fight, they're definitely going to do it. I mean, there's no question about it. They're going to bring the feel to win, and I think that's great. To have that goal to bring that atmosphere to your company, and that's the feel you want people to have. And I already know what talent they're going to be pulling into into those shows to get it over. But I do love the fact and respect the fact that those guys still want wrestling. They want story. They want to still tap into emotional tie with the people that are coming. So to get, and even ROH had that too. They had guys that could wrestle and that you really felt it. And it was, Daniel Bryan Danielson or whatever. I don't even know his name. You had him, you had Punk. There was like Roderick Strong and Jamie Noble was there. So like again, it was all different kinds of style. So honestly, if that's what they're looking for, they've already hit it. But to get the atmosphere in the field, it might take a little time, but they're definitely on the way. And if there's any guys that could do it, it would be SAT.
Yeah, I remember. What was it? I believe it was Race to the Top. Night 1 was actually in the Deer Park Community Center, I believe.
Do you remember what year that was? That was in 2000s. It was in,
I think it was 3. 03? Was that 06? 04?
It was later that they would, because I remember the only thing that I remember about ROH going to Deer Park Community Center was that they wanted to put up the pipe and drape around the place because it, for them, it was the shits. Like the place didn't look good, and I think their production value went up. And it was like the Deer Park Community Center was it was an old elementary school converted into a community center, and where we did the shows was inside the gym, and elementary school gyms were combined with the auditorium. So you had the stage on the side, and then you had, the basketball floors and the basketballs, and they had the tables that they would bring out of the wall and everything else. So honestly, the only thing that I remember about them going into Jipper Community Center was there was a deal with, like, it doesn't even look like the center because they put up all this pipe and drape because they're like, well, this build looks like shit.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you anything about ROH in Deer Park Community Center. I mean, I wish we at that point had invested in pipe and drapes and just pipe and drape the whole building, because it was, after a while, the old gym look it doesn't cut it anymore, especially when you want to up production and look better than what you can be.
Yeah. I remember the main event being it was Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness against the Briscoe brothers. I remember that was the main event.
Oh Jesus, that match had to be fire.
That match was fire. Yeah.
I mean, don't be surprised if you don't start seeing stuff like that at a win.
Yeah.
SAT would definitely know how to pull it off, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were part of the match, because they could still do it after all this time. So you never know.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to their 6-man tag match with the New Graysons and Kashmir.
Oh my God,
dude, they're gonna tear it up. They're gonna tear it up, and
hell yeah. Dude, the fact that Kashmir's back, and what's funny is I used to watch the Backseat Boys. Him and Acid were amazing, and I had never shared a locker room with them. Back in those days, I'd never even met them, but I was always I always had my eye on independent wrestling, and we watched it through tape, and then Trent had unfortunately passed away, and it was like, oh man, that pretty much ended that, but. Like, I remember just knowing that Kashmir was starting it up again with the Graysons, and when I got to a big fight, I don't even think I got to say hello to and introduce myself to Kashmir, let him know, hey man, I've seen your work, I've seen it for years. But the new Backstreet Boy stuff, and I think it's going to be great. I think they picked two of the best guys to actually do it. I've known the Graysons since I think they started. I had met them back when they started. I thought they were two kids that at that time were just so green, and just they wanted it, and I remember that I think they were at Wrestle Pro at the time. But now I'm seeing them, and they're in 100 times better shape. I think one just went to Mexico or something and wrestled, and to get put. I hope they understand and realize that getting put with Kashmir, I think that's a pretty big nod, and it's a I think it means a lot more than what they know. I didn't get to talk to them. I just got to say hello. I did want to catch up with them because I hadn't seen them in years. But Kashmir and the new Graysons, I just think it's gonna be off the charts. And then with SAT, I mean, I've seen what the Graysons can do. They're absolutely amazing with the high flying and the moves that they can hit. And I think that honestly, to be honest with you, surprisingly, I think it's a test for the SAT more than it is the Graysons and Kashmir, because now it's put up or shut up for the team that has essentially done it all, to put up with Johnny Kashmir and a young upcoming hot team of the Graysons. So yes, for sure, that's a trios match, and I'm going to be watching that. I mean, no matter where it is, even if it's on before the title match, I will watch it. Sure.
Johnny Kashmir and Trent Acid, they were doing just like the SATs, doing stuff that nobody else was doing.
Oh yeah,
nobody. And those two were actually, besides SAT, were my favorite tag teams growing up right there.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, I obviously I watched them because I was like, oh my God, how the hell would I ever wrestle these guys? I don't do what they do. But again, I was young and I didn't understand wrestling as much as I do now. And there's always a way to combine two styles and make it work. And that's just something you need to learn out of experience. I know the guys are hungry and I would love to wrestle. I would love to wrestle them, and then you're going to get lost because you just don't know how to. You don't know how to mix the styles, or you're thinking you're too big for your britches, and you're going to jump in there thinking you're going to do what they're going to do, and you're not going to do it. And again, that's why I think that the Graysons are a solid choice, a solid pick, and that match is just going to be off the charts. But yeah, the Acid and Kashmir, they wherever they were, they ruled it. They owned everything, and it's unfortunate that Trent left us and they couldn't do any more than what they got to do. But I hope Kashmir is enjoying this run, and that I really hope that whatever was missing for all these years is back, and he's feeling it with the Graysons. And I, again, like if there was, it's funny you brought that up because I had totally forgot that was even announced. If there was anything that I would be looking forward to on that card, it would be that match, just for a lot of reasons. For people that have been following wrestling for years on the independents and known all these guys are involved. Knowing even if you were watching within the last 5-6 years and you saw the Graysons and watched them come up, that's a big match in my opinion. That's a really big match that has a lot of history and a lot of emotion behind it. And I think that if these 6 guys take that history and emotion and draw it into this thing, it could be off the charts just alone on emotion. And I know that they will. Obviously, we're going to see some big stuff. There's going to be some big high spots. There's going to be some big freaking moves in there. There's going to be some crazy stuff that we're just going to go, holy shit, how the hell they do this? But if you add that emotional charge to it, it'd probably be the match of the night.
Yeah, I cannot wait because that Long Island show is so stacked right now, and they only announced 2 matches, so 2 matches, and that Long Island show. We don't even know the rest of
the. I've already paid for the price of admission. Whoever buys a ticket.
That's it. That's it, man. Those 2 matches. I'm sold on those 2 matches alone, right there.
Yeah, man.
I'm just sold on. Oh man, much respect to Dickie taking this journey for us. So, 20-year, much history.
Man, you're just making me feel old, man. Just making me feel old.
Paul, man.
But like to sell a whole card on 2 matches. Let's just think about it. Sell a whole card on 2 matches, and then we're going to be pushing tickets on that alone. That tells you something, and it's only going to get better as if they announce the rest of the card or not. It's only going to get better. Even if they don't even have to announce the rest of the card, the show sells itself on just those 2, and the fact that they have an amazing roster that's hungry and ready to go. There's nothing that's going to be. There's no dip. Is what I'm trying to say. That whole show, there's going to be no dip, and I think everybody's going to be watching on the edge of their seats the entire time.
Just make that fatal elimination match 60 minutes. That's all we need right there, man. just make it 60 minutes. Have everyone go 60 minutes in an Iron Man match to see who's the best right there.
No, just go get me a pillow and a blanket. And I'll just fall asleep on the side of the road. I'll jump back. Don't worry about it. I got
it. Yeah. Yeah, so where do you see winning 5 to 10 years, you'd say?
I hope still doing their thing. I mean, again, it's always good to have variety, and I think that looking at what they got going on right now and the direction they're going in, I think that they'll definitely still be around in 5-10 years. Again, everything comes down to finances, and it sucks because at the end of the day, wrestling is still a business, and there still needs to, everybody still needs to make money. You could be putting out the best product in the world, and you may not be drawing the money for whatever reason. Not saying they're not. Obviously, I'm definitely not saying they're not. But what I'm saying is that all we can do is just sit and wait. I think they're off to I think after Big Fight, they definitely showed us that they got some good stuff ahead of them. They're putting some solid stuff together. They don't need I've always said this, you don't necessarily need the names on a show to draw. You need the local talent is going to draw. If you can get good local talent, they're going to draw. If you can get good talent that's out there and being seen, you're going to draw. Okay. It doesn't always have to be the bigger name to draw a crowd. I think they did that with Big Fight. I know that they sold every seat in the place for that show, which is good. Any building, big or small, if you sell every seat, it's a success. It's telling you something. So in that aspect, and in the aspect of the talent that they have on the card and the job that they're doing, I think so far you're definitely going to see them around. I think they'll definitely grow. There's room for growth for sure. I think that the biggest thing for any company is sit down, take your time with the booking. I think that booking is probably the most important aspect after you've paid the bills and covered the show, because now that's what they're paying for, whatever you're going to book, and again, you can have the strongest talents in the world as long as that booking is on point. And I do see some stories brewing. I see some big time matches that can happen for the company. I think that they're going in the right direction. I think that utilizing older wrestlers that have been around the area and around indie wrestling for 15, 20 years is a plus. That's not just me patting myself on the back and saying, hey, thanks for the booking. And it's me, saying that there's ways to utilize people no matter how much time you have in, from 20 years to 20 minutes. There's always a way to utilize it. And I think that they have a good stronghold on it. And I do think that, after this next show on May 18th, coming out with whoever is going to be the champion is going to tell the story for the next few months. I think it'll also tell the fans where they're going to go. Are they going to go with a very strong youth movement? Are they going to go with the older guy? Are we, what are we building our company around? And I also think that something as strong as the trios match. These are things that are just, there's excitement on the card, there's story on the card, and your biggest news story coming out is the championship. So in 5, I still see them around in 5 years, but again, you just don't know. Shit happens in anything. So let's just hope that they're still going strong, because right now everything's looking great. I think it's looking very positive for them.
I agree. So Dickie, do you have anything coming up besides NYWC or?
So far it's just it's NYWC, it's Win. I have Full Faith Wrestling, I think, also coming up next month.
Yeah.
I do know that I've sent some messages out. I'm going to see who responds, and we'll try to get out there again for a little while longer. Maybe extend the career a little bit and see what I could do. As this coming through, you can always check my Instagram or Facebook, even though Facebook is under my regular name. It's not at my Dickie Rodz when I got hacked. But I always try, and even on Twitter, I'll put out there where I'm going. But I kind of don't want to fade away yet. I think there's still a little more for me to do, and I'm looking to do it. So if you just get an email from me, answer me. Don't leave me on red.
Yeah. So to be honest, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say, it's like, you're not slowing down right now. You got another 20 years, Dickie. You know what I mean? Another 20 years of wrestling right there.
I got more like another 20 minutes, and then they have to hit me with the defibrillator. And
oh no.
Yeah.
No, man. No, you got 20 more years, man. 20 more years.
Yeah, I can only hope.
Yeah. So, do you have any social medias people could find you, or
at the Dickie Rodz on Instagram and Twitter, and my Facebook is under my real name. It's Robert Rampino. But honestly, the best place to find me is Instagram or Twitter at the Dickie Rodz.
Yeah.
Or at the Dickie Rodz 2000. I don't even remember. So that goes into my stuff. I just go in.
Yeah, if you haven't bought your tickets for Win yet, the link is in the description below, and I can't make it any easier than that one right there. So just click the link. That's it. Buy your tickets to Win. It's gonna be an amazing show, and if you don't go, you're just gonna be regretting it, saying, "Why didn't I go to that show?" Because you're gonna see everyone have their video cameras out and post it on social media the next day. So. There you go. All right.
All right, man.
All right. I'm the Metal Geek.
And I'm Dickie Rodz.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.